Hey guys, it's Quinn. Today we're going to be looking at a topic which I think is rarely discussed. You always see the henchman list, Bond girl list, even Bond list, but you never see the main villain list, and that's what I'm going to talk about today. I've been wanting to do this list for a very long time, and I thought it was fair if I rank all of them, not just the top 10. I also want to say, though, that the one little tiny rule I have is that it's per each film, so it's not going to be like each individual one. So I'm going to count, for example, General Orlov and Kamal Khan in the same ranking. So let's get into it. I do have one little tiny questionable mention, that is Mr. White. The reason he's a questionable mention is because he's not really the main villain of any film. Unlike Blofeld, who is the main villain for a solid 3 films, Mr. White only makes brief appearances in like 2 films, and only for like 10 minutes at a time. I like him, but he isn't really a main villain. Number 23. Dominic Greene is here solely because I feel he gives no physical threat to Bond. Although he does work well in Quantum of Solace, he doesn't give off any real intimidation factor. Because his henchman is in the form of Elvis is awful, Greene has to feel kind of dangerous, but I just don't feel that at all. Now don't get me wrong, I don't dislike him, I just think that he is, well, weak. Number 22. It may be a tad harsh having Cristados this low, but I just don't think he's that memorable at all. The only reason I would take him over Greene is for 2 reasons. The first is that I think he is more physically threatening, and I also think that his plan affects Bond more. Again, I don't hate him, I just think he's forgettable. Number 21. Gustav Graves is the dumbest idea for a villain, no, a character, that I have ever seen. But he works with this film extremely well. I don't want to spend too much time on him, but I think that if you take him for what he is, he's a whole lot of fun. Yes, his whole backstory is stupid, but so is the entire movie, so it works. Number 20. Please don't yell at me for having Stromberg this low. I guess I just find him boring. All he does is sit in a chair the entire film, and I never feel that he's that threatening to Bond. I think the reason that he's even this high is because his lair and idea of destroying the world are very cool. Again, he's an interesting character, but I just think he's boring. Number 19. Electra from The World Is Not Enough is a very cool idea as a character, and I like how she switches from Bond girl to main villain, instead of vice versa. Although this is all great, if she wasn't the first full-on female fatale, she would not be that memorable at all. She gets taken out by Bond way too easily, and she depends on Renard way too much throughout the film. Again, she's good, but there's been better. Number 18. No, not her. Creeps. Le Chiffre from Casino Royale had all the qualities of great villains from the 60s. He has a bad eye, he's great at poker, and has a lot of money. Saying that, it always feels as if he's below someone. He's constantly harassed by his higher-ups and never gives Bond any real reason throughout the entire film to worry. He isn't the worst, but he isn't the best. And I feel with just a few script changes, he could have been a lot better. Number 17. Whitaker and Koskoff from The Living Daylights are 2 really good examples of 2 co-villains. They are both good, but not great. I do believe, though, that they really sell their parts. I believe them as characters. I do feel that, for Koskoff in particular, they are really dependent. I mean, look at him. Bond is pouring tea for him, for God's sakes. Number 16, and I'm sorry, but I think this picture sums up this character as a whole. That, of course, being a man among men. People shit on Fargo all the time, but I don't get it. But the one thing I do understand is that Fargo wins the award for the most wasted potential in the entire series. This guy is everything. The eye patch, number 2 in Spectre, and a great name. But I just don't think he's used properly. He should have been a more, in-the-face kind of villain. He has great chemistry in Connery, and does the fight scenes well, but I just think he could have been a lot more. Number 15.
Spectre. Special Executive for Counterintelligence, Terrorism, Revenge, Extortion. The four great cornerstones of power, headed by the greatest brains in the world.
Correction. Criminal brains.
The successful criminal brain is always superior. It has to be.
Love it. Dr. No is a character that I've talked about very recently, so I'll keep it short. He's just a very cool character, but just appears far too late in the movie. I think they were trying to hide him in the way that Connery was hit at the beginning of the film. The reason that annoys me is because the movie is named after him, so I want him on screen for longer than 15 minutes. Number 14. Sanchez from License to Kill is a really intimidating character, and I completely buy him in this role. Now, he's around halfway on this list, so I don't love him, but I do think he's a really good villain. I think in a Dalton film, you need a tough villain, and I think he did that better than Koskoff and Whitaker from the previous film, and that is why he is ahead of them. Number 13. I was really torn as to who to put here between Kananga and Sanchez, but the reason I put Kananga here is because the main difference between the two is that Kananga works even better in his film than Sanchez does. Basically, everything I said about Sanchez is true for Kananga. He works well in a voodoo film and he has good chemistry with Bond. That's basically it. So let's move on. Number 12. I know I've referred to Rosa Klebb as a henchman before, but after some soul-searching, if you will, I've realized that she is the main villain of the film. Although she works for Blofeld and Spectre, she's very much her own character and mind. Although she's small, she gives a strong presence, and overall she's a very strong character in one of the strongest films in the entire series. Number 11. General Orlov and Kamal Khan, at least in my opinion, are the most overacted villains in the entire series. Neither of these villains are effective, well, at all, but they are just so much fun. Just like the movie itself, these two villains are my guilty pleasure. Just listen to this rant.
Before we give it away? Gogol is presumptuous. He speaks for himself and others who cling to timid. He'll kill us all. Go out and get him. Out there? Go. In East Germany, under my direct command, I have 31 divisions, including 11 tank divisions and another 5 in Czechoslovakia. In all, a 10-to-1 advantage.
You have a nasty habit of surviving. Well, you know what they say about the fittest?
American and West German forces can field at most 10 armored divisions.
Here we go, top 10. Blofeld from Diamonds Are Forever is just a weird character. I do not think he'd be this high if he wasn't Blofeld, but I still enjoy him. He's a silly character in a silly film, and although there's been better Blofelds, and I understand why people may not enjoy him that much, I still think he's very fun and a very effective character. Number 9.
A small crisis is brewing in the South China Seas.
Elliot Carver from Tomorrow Never Dies has the best rants in the entire series, as seen here. This character is really hard to pull off in my opinion, but he did it perfectly. Although his grand scheme is kind of a shitty Blofeld 2.0, it's still fun. He just sells his role very well and steals every scene that he is in. He's just perfect.
There's no news. Like bad news.
Number 8. Hugo Drax is so menacing, it's unbelievable. In what is quite possibly the dumbest plot for a movie in, well, history of film, Drax gives such a great performance, it makes the whole film ever so slightly more down-to-earth and more watchable in my opinion. He just is what a Bond villain should be, and is an amazing counteraction to a campy Bond and a campy film. Number 7. Raoul Silva is the best part of one of my favorite Bond films in the entire series. He gives off a creepy presence that makes you feel that Bond is in real danger throughout the film. Although his whole scheme of getting caught and escaping is flat out stupid, he makes it work. I love how he has a presence right from the beginning of the film till the very end, and just overall, he is a very memorable villain. Number 6.
Merry Christmas, 007.
Yes, the forgotten Blofeld. Blofeld in On Her Majesty's Secret Service overall is just a great villain, and I think he's the most physically threatening Blofeld of them all. He gives off the exact amount of terror that is necessary to make Blofeld work. He does a great job in the role, and his grand scheme is exactly what you'd expect from a Spectre plan. He's absolutely amazing, and he works so well with the film that it counteracts George Lazenby's wooden performance and enhances the film even more. Number 5. Yes, Scaramanga or the Man with the Golden Gun, whichever you prefer. Scaramanga is probably the most likable villain in the entire series. The Man with the Golden Gun is by far Roger Moore's most serious performance, so it's nice that Christopher Lee, who played Scaramanga, gave a light tone to the film. He's a great Bond equal, and in a way does it even better than Red Grant from Russia with Love. Number 4.
James? For England. For England, Alec. For England, James!
Alec Trevelyan is one of, if not the main reason I love GoldenEye. He is a mirror image of Scaramanga in every way, but instead of having a great weapon, he can hold his own in a fight with Bond. Having him as a former MI6 agent who is meant to be better than Bond adds to the intrigue of his character. He's perfectly acted by Sean Bean and has remarkable chemistry with Brosnan. I actually believe he is 006.
For England, James?
Number 3.
The domination of Silicon Valley.
Max Zorn is a modern-day Goldfinger. He's the best acted villain in the entire series and makes A View to a Kill worth watching. He does such an amazing job of taking a good role and turning it into an Oscar-worthy performance. Okay, maybe that's a bit much, but still, in a series with amazing villains, he makes his character one to remember. Number 2.
Operation Grand Slam, for instance.
Goldfinger's amazing. Even non-Bond fans know who this guy is. Even though his voice is dubbed, in a sense, it almost makes the character better. The main reason this film is a classic is because of Goldfinger himself. Not Bond, not Oddjob, not Pussy Galore, but Goldfinger is the reason this film is great. And that's not to say the other characters aren't good, indeed quite the opposite. All I'm saying is that Goldfinger is just perfect and elevates this film to a new level.
Or anyone in your organization.
Can you afford to take that chance?
And number 1.
James Bond, allow me to introduce myself. I am Ernst Stavro Blofeld. They told me you were assassinated in Hong Kong.
Yes, this is my second life.
You only live twice, Mr. Bond.
Blofeld in You Only Live Twice is the greatest villain of all time, at least in my opinion. The Blofeld character, especially in this film, is so menacing, creepy, and creative that he creates this almost third dimension to the film. Blofeld made the transition from the Connery to Lazenby era easier, and that only adds to why he is so great. I've never been a huge fan of You Only Live Twice, but when I do watch it, I always look forward to this amazing villain. So is I too harsh on Dominic Greene and Christados and too nice on the likes of Elliot Carver and General Orlov? Leave a comment below. I want to hear your guys' opinions. Next time, my From Russia with Love review.
Remove his suit and search him.
Reserve astronaut ready on bird 1.